Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here today with Dr. Hans Parge. He is an amazing person. I met him, I think, a few months back in a wonderful community called the Serving Circle, where we had met. And then I participated in one of his events with the Healthy Neighborhood community. And he's a retired biomedical research a person who retired in 2009, if I recall correctly, and then moved into the world of health, wellness, and prevention, which is my favorite topic. So this is what we are going to talk about today. We're going to talk about health and wellness and what you've been up to and kind of share with the world a little bit about your movement of how we can achieve health and wellness in this world. Welcome. And
Thank you. Thank you for having me,
yeah,
Gabriella. It's an honor to be here, honor to be invited.
so tell me about your world. How did you get into health and wellness, and what is it that you would advise to other people?
That, that's a that's a tough, well, it's a very pregnant question. So I'd love to say that I did it by choice, but really in 2009, I was released into the world of unemployment with a huge restructuring that
Mm-hmm.
was triggered in Pfizer by the failure in clinical trials of the successor to Lipitor. You're probably familiar with Lipitor as a
Yes,
statin.
I am.
So that 20 billion, that $1 billion bet that Pfizer had made on torcetrapin um, didn't pan out because in the clinical trials, um, it showed that people, if I speak correctly, this is what I heard, don't vouch for its veracity, 4 people in the clinical trials were identified as having died early. Yeah. And that flushed the $1 billion of research and development down the Swanee, but also triggered a huge restructuring, but major sites at Pfizer closed. So I rode out in 2009, January 9th, on the Wave 95 into the world of unemployment. And yeah, it it was a it was an interesting event that sort of made one transition. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like what happens in many cases, when a door closes, many more open. But we tend to look so long and regretfully at the one that's closed, we miss the new doors that open up to other opportunities. But I was ready to do something else. And an MD, PhD friend turned me onto the world of wellness and prevention and the industry of direct sales. And that's where I've been ever since. So,
And you've been doing that for how many years now?
well, 2009 till now, it's nearly 16 years.
Nearly 16 years.
I'll have been retired and working in wellness as long as I've been officially employed uh, coming January. So,
Yes. And in wellness, you specifically focus on an area, how we can measure our health. And would you tell us a little bit about that and the wisdom of that measurement and how we can use it?
so I came across this measurement in 2011, and I'm trained as an X-ray crystallographer, so I spent my life looking at determining the atomic structures of molecules.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I liked the data, and in the late 90s at the Moran Institute for Biomedical Optics, Werner Gellerman, asked the question whether you could use resonance Raman spectroscopy to measure the macular pigments without, because you can't take a biopsy. You can do,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
definitely not.
You can't really do that. So, and he proved you could do that, and he also proved that you could do it by measuring it in skin.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2003, that the first commercial device was launched by Pharmanex, who had acquired the commercial license from the Eye Institute. I came across it in 2011, and that basically changed my life because it told me objectively, whether I was getting enough color in my diet.
And what are we measuring? Tell the people who don't
Okay,
know about this measurement.
so we are measuring carotenoids,
Yes.
and as Nolan will say, carotenoids give nature its color. There are 700 of them in nature. There are 50 in our food supply, 18 of which make it into our blood. And here's the really magical thing. 3 of them are 1,000 times more concentrated in the macula than anywhere else in the body. But if I measure the carotenoids in your skin, that measurement is correlated to measuring it in your blood, and it's also correlated to measuring it in your eye. They're all correlated. But even more important, the last few years of Nolan's work, it's also those same 3 carotenoids are concentrated in the hippocampus, which is responsible in your brain for memory, reaction time, attention. Yeah. So if I'm measuring it in your hand, I'm measuring it in all those tissues as well. And
Isn't that amazing? That
that is
is
pretty
just
amazing.
so
That's
amazing.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, as a nerdy scientist, I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So yeah, so that's
So how we can use this measurement of carotenoids to make our life better? What does it tell us?
well, I think it gives us a choice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a gentle wake-up call
Mm-hmm.
because we all over-report the good,
Yes.
under-report the bad. So we need some kind of objective
Mm-hmm.
measure that helps us then guide. And I love the measurement because it's not telling you how sick you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the sickness world. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I go to get my blood work, you know, or when I get some medical tests, there's always that fear of, do I really want to know I've got cancer? Do I really want to know? Yeah. Where in this case, there is no such thing as a bad score. It gives you the concentration and all the factors that relate to that measurement are under a person's control. So you're enabling, you're empowering people.
Yes, I
Some
love
people,
that. Yeah.
some people will say, I don't want to, I still don't want to know.
Yeah.
Or, I really don't care. Well, that's perfectly fine as long as they know it's open to them.
And just like the colors of the rainbow, how we should eat our vegetables and fruits, this measurement gives us a color scale too, which you showed me before. And if you would tell people how that scale would work, like the
So,
different
so
colors.
they
Yeah.
call it a skin carotenoid score, and it goes from blue, green, yellow, orange, red.
Yes.
And it goes, so blue is optimum and above is optimum, green is good, yellow is moderate, orange is weak, and red is poor.
And when you
Now,
started this journey, where was your score?
I was in the red.
And where are you now?
I'm now either in the blue or beyond the
Wonderful.
blue. So in the silver. So
So would you share with people what is it that you have done for your health? Tell that story and see
well,
if that.
I think if I look back, I'm now heading into my 70s. When I look back in my 40s, my early 40s, my doctor sort of very wisely told me that I needed to take a good multivitamin.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him to take a running jump. I didn't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would get it from my consumption of food.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward from 40 to age 57, 17 years on, I get that measurement that puts me in the red, which tells me, hell, I should have listened to what he had to say 17 years earlier. Yeah.
Yes.
So what's really lovely about the program is that you get a performance money back guarantee
Mm-hmm.
on the so-called scanner certified supplements. And that's what I got on, and that's what I'm still on. And
which is wonderful.
in the first 60 days, I went from 19,000 in the red to 44,000 in the green.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So people can do this measurement through the skin, through the blood, through the eye, right? For people who might
Let me
don't,
just correct you. I'm not sure how they would like to have a laser shot in their eye, but basically, but they can do it. They can, if they want to get a measurement, I would go for serum carotenoids or dermal carotenoids.
yes,
And it may be that their insurance company will cover that blood work, whether
yes,
their physician is familiar enough with it to prescribe it. That's basically the work of the people like myself to make them
absolutely.
aware that this is a valid biomarker that they need to have as part of a patient's workup. And
Yes.
if they don't, I would say that's negligence.
Mhm.
But that's my arrogant position on that
Well,
subject.
you're also really passionate about this, and you've seen how it worked for you and how it worked for other people because you also sponsor and support other people in this endeavor to measure the carotenoids in however you want to measure them. I did look at it online a little bit, and it looks like you can also by yourself order, like if you don't have the scanning or the blood work opportunity from your through your doctor, you can also order it through online. There's a different labs where
Or
you
yeah,
can
and
you
then
can do the
yeah,
measurements. Yeah.
exactly. So there's a wonderful meta-analysis that came out in 2010 that looked at lots of data,
Mm-hmm.
and they proposed this carotenoid health index based on human clinical data and serum carotenoid concentrations. And they give you micromolar concentrations. So if I were to, I haven't done this, but I suspect that their grading of risk
Mm-hmm.
follows the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, because they look at very high risk in the low category, high risk, medium risk, low risk, and very low risk. When I measured, I found myself in the very high risk category, even though my doctor would declare my blood work having an overall good pattern. That's a risk that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know about, so I couldn't manage it, and he did not know about it, and he did not manage it. And that I think is negligent, you know,
So
on my part, because,
yes,
so.
yes, it's kind of until you know, it's kind of hard to make a decision. And as you mentioned before in some of our conversations, that unfortunately society, and that's absolutely my opinion as well, society is more of a fix it once it's broken instead of promoting wellness. But I do think that we are starting to tilt that scale a little bit. There's more and more people who do different type of wellness videos and promote different wellness opportunities in our lives. And I think that's the reaction to how our bodies, how our stress, how everything is in society right now. And I think this is another important measurement and something we can do for our health. So you mentioned that you choose the route once you get your color of red to do the supplements. For people who might not be able to afford or something like that, what are other options you think they could do for
Oh,
your health?
clearly, the staple should be a diet that's rich in color.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
that that should be the staple. The problem, and I think the USDA's data shows this quite clearly, and Nolan has talked about this too in a wonderful slide. And I've asked this, I think I may have asked you this question. A bowl of spinach in 1953 is equivalent to how many bowls of spinach in 2020?
No, you have not asked that question,
Well, then go
but
guess.
I don't
Guess.
know. Three,
Go ahead. Keep
three,
going. Go
four,
up.
5, 6, 7, 20, 50.
43. So now
It's
if
just
I
not
took
enough nutrition in it.
our food is devolving. So when I told my doctor I would get it from my food, had I known that data, I would have said, no, Hans, good luck. Yes, eat a
Is that
diet
just
rich. That's just the way it is. Our
is that
food
just commercial food, or is
is
that
well, I'm obviously
locally
if you're
grown?
obviously I always tell people if you're living on a happy farm like the Amish,
Uh-huh.
was eating happy eggs from happy chickens and eating your fruit and vegetables from nutritionally dense soil, you likely don't need to supplement.
Hmm.
But for everyone else, where there's a lot of air miles on their food, I would say, you know, make that make have that be your health insurance or health assurance.
Hmm.
Coming back
Absolutely.
to another data point that it was proposed by Bruce Ames. If you're familiar with Bruce Ames,
No, I am not.
so Ames is a biochemical researcher at UC Berkeley. He's probably retired now, but he's famous for the Ames test, which is a bacterial test that all compounds that go through into the food chain need to go through to see if they're mutagenic, if
Okay.
they attack DNA, because then they would not be getting into the food chain.
Hmm.
In 2006, you published a paper which I think makes the most compelling argument to assure that you are nutritionally complete. And the title of the paper goes as this: Low micronutrient intake may accelerate the degenerative diseases of aging by allocation of scarce micronutrients by triage, which basically means if your body does not have enough to go around, you're forcing it to make a decision. And the decision of which biochemistry will get its full allotment will always be the biochemistry that keeps you alive now.
Hmm.
Doesn't care
Yes.
about tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
makes sense. So many of the things, oh, I'm getting old. No, you're getting old because you have not been giving your biochemistry everything that it needs to keep functioning at a youthful state. That, for me, had I read that in 2006, I probably would have got on a supplement earlier. But again, they have to be good supplements.
Yeah.
It's, I always look at 2015 when the Attorney General of New York forced all the major retailers to take off their shelves all the supplements. That was GNC, Walmart, many bigger, because they either did not contain what they were supposed to contain or they were heavily contaminated.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
need to know, like you need to know about your food, you need to know where your stuff is coming from.
Absolutely.
And there are good sources out there.
Yeah. But you're right. It's kind of scary because it can happen. You really don't know what you get. You can order now on the internet so many things. One of the example that I learned of, interestingly, when I went to a chocolate museum in Croatia, in Zagreb, that I visited this
Uh,
summer, is when they started to make chocolate. People did fake chocolate, like putting chalk and putting all kinds of things in it that actually was poisoning people until some people started to do some, you know, some kind of control and say, no, we cannot do this. But when you order from certain countries or you don't know the location or what the manufacturing behind it, there could be so much damaging that could be caused by something that you're taking for your health. So
yeah.
that is always scary. So I do agree with knowing where the sources and it's a reputable company where you get your vitamins or minerals from, as the same as with your food, get it local, get it organic, grow at least some
Mhm.
herbs yourself. Everybody can grow some herbs, do as much as you can. And it is so funny that you mentioned the happy chickens because that's what I have we have some chickens, and when somebody says, "Oh, where are your eggs from?" I always say they come from my happy chicken. So I think that
and,
was.
and and you can probably taste the difference too.
Oh, it is very different. It
It's a
was
bit,
very
yeah.
it was very different when I was not at home and I had some eggs somewhere else, and I'm like, these don't taste like eggs. Like, what
Yes.
is this? Yeah.
No, and you bring up really, really good points. And I would add to that, um, the the person who is looking out for their health, they especially finding out which supplements are appropriate for them to take. Obviously, they need to check with their doctor. Yeah. Not that it, and also their pharmacist to see if there's any drug interaction. But to have a person that is passionate about nutrition, then also be able to counsel them. It's a different place to be than if you're just going to over the counter at Costco or Walmart or wherever and saying, oh, reading the label and saying, oh, well, this looks good. Well, this is what you need some counseling, some guidance. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And it's good to have some blood work, some measurements, or the screen measurements. And this is one additional tool to measure the carotenoids in the blood or through the screen. And do you want to tell us a little bit about, we just have about 6 minutes left, a little bit about how people could possibly get those measurements
Well,
through the company?
they can always connect with you or
Yes. We'll
me.
put some links in the
We
bottom.
put some links, and they can find they can enter their zip code or have us find a scanner for them. Um, I would also, the other thing they can do is ask their physician or their health provider if the blood work for carotenoid determination is actually, covered by their insurance. I charge, and people that have scanners, I've seen charges from $25 to $160 for a scan. So there's a
Very wide range,
very
yes,
wide range.
depending on
I
where.
would say that if I look at what it did for my health, nearly 14 years ago, that I would easily pay $160 for that information right now. Yeah. Because if you pay nothing for it, it doesn't have any value. And if it has no value, your subconscious will say, whatever, and you keep on going down until you have something else come up. That's why we have such a wonderful sick care
Yes,
industry, is because it caters to our behavior. Why do
absolutely.
something if it ain't broke? I would
Yeah.
say if it ain't broke, don't break it.
I would love if our healthcare system and our focus was shift toward more being healthy. And actually, we would pay our providers to keep us healthy instead when we are sick, right? Do
I would love that too. And I think we bring up a good point. We get what we're willing to pay for. So we're willing to pay for sick care, which means that the health care should actually be called sick care. The health insurance should be called sick insurance, which what it is called in France and Germany. So then you're not confusing your customer as to what they're paying for. It would leave a completely new category open called real healthcare that people know that they need to invest in. Yeah. And as a result, you will get people providing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we never know what the future holds, but every step toward that, I'm really passionate about, because I seen, as a nurse who's been in a nursing field for over 30 years, I've seen so many sick people. And it is so good when actually meeting somebody in their 70s, like you, Hans, and you are healthy and well, and it's just so wonderful to see those examples. And the more we can help people to get there, I think it's the better. In our last few minutes, is there anything, like if you would have a message to the world, um, regarding to their health or well-being, what would you tell people?
I would say keep an open mind
Mm-hmm.
and an open critical mind. And really, really, I've become as forceful as Nolan, based on the masses of data that's out there. We all know our mother said, eat your
Yes,
colors of the rainbow. Well, she was right.
eat that broccoli.
Yeah, eat that, eat those vegetables, those colored
Yes,
vegetables. And I would say, if you love your people, make sure that they know their score. I always joke, if you're my friend or loved one, I will pin you to the floor until you know your score.
I love it. That is wonderful. Yeah, because for our loved ones, we want them to do well, right? So if this score helps them to see where they are and what are the things they can do to improve, well, why not? So,
And also, I think there's an enlightened self-interest because as I'm getting older and older, my grandmother's comments keep coming to mind is that the hardest thing about growing old is you lose your friends.
hmm
And I'm now at an age where I'm losing friends to what I would consider purely uh, preventable conditions.
hmm
Had somebody been in their face and cared enough to say, hang on, you need that 15 soda today?
Yeah,
Yeah. Or
absolutely.
would you like a little wake-up call by measuring what your health looks like? It's, you know,
Absolutely.
it's a challenge, an opportunity, but we've got to meet people where they're at. And most people have no idea where they're at health-wise. They just don't. I
Yes.
didn't. I certainly didn't. I don't make myself any different to anyone. I told my doctor I would get it from my food.
And that's why that's why they're so powerful when we have conversations like this. And I really appreciate you coming and having this conversation with me. And we can have future follow-up conversations, and we'll add some resources and information into the links. And hope that our conversation and information will help some people to look at those carotenoid scores that keep them healthier. Thank you so much for coming today. And until we see you next time, have a beautiful day, everybody. And thank you for listening to Dr. Hans Parge and Dr. Gabriella Korosi having this conversation. Until we see you next time, take care and have a lovely day.